Hello, welcome back to another installment in this series, one verse a week. This week's Parsha is Parshat Metzora. That can be found in your Bibles from Leviticus 14:1 through 15:33. This video is being prepared for the reading cycle for the Jewish year 5779. If you have found this video or any of my other videos, my other series, to be useful to you, I wish you would consider subscribing to this channel. If you want updates, click the bell icon. If you feel that this project or any of my other projects is worthy of your support, I wish you would consider becoming a patron over on Patreon or making a small donation via PayPal. That information can be found in the details below. Okay, without further ado, let us begin. Parshat Metzora. Okay, the subject matter for this week's Parsha is fairly dreadful. We're dealing with issues of Tumah and Tahara, dealing with various illnesses, various emissions and skin ailments and just in general not pleasant things. So, and what that does in terms of ritual purity, what that does in terms of a person's ability to do things in the temple, with or to eat kachim, holy items of food, or whether he's allowed to be in the camp. There's all sorts of issues that are bound up in the question of Tumah and Tahara. Tumah being impurity, ritual impurity, and Tahara being ritual purity. Okay, so let us begin. Let me read the verse a couple times. V'kibes ha-mitaher et bagadav, v'gilach et kol sa'aro, v'rachatz b'mayim, v'taher, v'achar yavo el ha-machaneh, v'yeshav mechutz la'ahalo, Shivas Yomim. Okay, one more time. V'kibes hamitaher et bagadav, v'gilach et kol sa'aro, v'rachatz b'mayim, v'taher v'achar yavo el hamachaneh, v'yeshav mechutz la'ahalo, Shivat Yomim. Okay. So those are the verbs. A lot of verbs in this one. Kibes. Kibes means to wash and or to immerse in water. The kibes, and he shall wash or immerse. Who's the he? Hamataher, the one being purified. Okay. Also, we have v'gilach. Gilach comes from the shorish gimel lamed chet, meaning to shave or to be shaved. So v'gilach et kol sa'aro, and he shall shave. V'rachatz comes from the shorish reish chet tzadi, which means to wash or to bathe. V'rachatz b'mayim, v'taher, taher comes from the shorish tet hey resh, meaning to be pure, to be ritually purified. Taher. V'achar yovo, we've had this short before. Beit vav aleph, to come. So yovo, he shall come. El hamachaneh. V'yeshav, we've had this root. Yud shin Vet, Yeshav, and he shall dwell. Mechutz la'ahalo shivat yamim. Okay, kives, and he shall wash, he shall immerse. V'gilach, and he shall shave. A little tongue twister. V'rachatz, and he will bathe. V'taher, and he will be sanctified, he will be purified. V'yavo, he shall come. v'yashav, and he shall sit or dwell. Okay, let's look at the non-verbs. The kibes ha-mitaher. So the mitaher is the person being purified, the one being purified. So ha-mitaher is the one being purified. What is he, right? So the kibes ha-mitaher. So what is he immersing? Et bagadav. Beged means clothing. Begadim means a beged is a garment of clothing. Bagadim means clothing or clothes, plural, bagadim. And the mem drops out, and the vav is possessive, bagadav, his clothing. So v'kibes hamatar es begadav, he will immerse his clothing. V'gilach, and he will shave, et kol sa'aro. So sa'aro means his hair. Se'ar means hair. Sa'aro means his hair. Kol means all. So v'gilach et kol sa'aro. So sa'aro, he will shave all of his hair. V'rachatz, and he will bathe. B'maim, in maim, water. V'taher, and he will be purified. V'acher, acher means after or afterwards. So, and afterwards, yovo, he shall come, where? El hamachane, el to hamachane. Machane is camp, hamachane is the camp. So he'll come, yovo el hamachane, he shall come to the camp. V'yashav, and he will sit, or he will dwell, mechutz means outside. Mechutz, la'ahalo, ohel means tent, ahalo means his tent. So he will dwell outside his tent. Shivat yamim. Shivat comes from the Hebrew number sheva, meaning 7. Yamim means days. So he will sit outside his tent for 7 days. I have a whole series on biblical numbers. If you have not seen that, I encourage you to click around on my playlists and find it and learn those. For some reason, numbers are one of the more difficult things for language learners, and it need not be so, because it's actually quite simple in Hebrew. So just click through and watch that series, and don't be one of those people who can speak Hebrew but still has to count, do the number song and count on their fingers in order to figure out what Hebrew word to use. Okay, let's read it again. V'kibes hamataher et bagadav, and the mataher the one being purified, shall immerse et bagadav, his clothing. V'gilach et kol sa'aro, and he will shave et kol sa'aro, all of his hair. V'rachatz, and he will bathe, b'maim, in water. V'taher, and he will be purified. He shall be ritually pure. V'acher, and afterwards, yovo el hamachaneh, he shall come to the camp. He shall come to the camp. V'yashav, and he will dwell. Mechutz la'ahalo, he will dwell outside his tent. Shivat yamim, for 7 days. Okay, let's look at my translation. And the one being purified shall immerse his clothing, and he shall shave all his hair, and he shall bathe in water, and he will be ritually pure. So the word tahor means pure. So ritually means, I'm adding it in because in the context we know this is ritual purity, not cleanliness. In Hebrew, if we want to say something is pure gold, we'd say zahav tahor. So that means like pure gold. Clean or free of any impurities. So in that context, tahor would mean pure in the normal English usage. But in this context, what we're talking about, it's clear that we're talking about ritual purity and not actual cleanliness. So we're dealing with ritual purity. So as that is not that word tahor does not necessarily connote always ritual purity, I put it in parentheses just to show that it is not actually part of the Hebrew going on here, but it is sort of the backdrop. Okay, and afterwards he shall come to the camp, and he shall dwell outside his tent, not tent, for 7 days. He shall dwell outside his tent for 7 days. Okay, so let's look at the other translations. Let's see what they do with this. The KJV, and he that is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, and shave off all his hair, and wash himself in water, that he may be clean. And after that he shall come into the camp, and shall tarry abroad out of his tent 7 days. Okay, so again, clean is not exactly what we're going for. Tahor, again, is not exactly clean. I like that they preserve the gendered language, his and he and all that. Shall tarry abroad outside, out of his tent. So that's awfully wordy for mechutz. And he shall sit outside his tent. That's a little wordy. So I'm not sure if that is fancy speak for then, if that's how they would say outside his tent in those days. But it seems a little ornate for what the Hebrew is saying. Okay, nevertheless, it's a pretty good translation. NIV does what I usually usually point out from the NIV. They sort of go to a non-gendered language. The person to be cleansed must wash their clothes, shave off all their hair, and bathe with water. Then they will be ceremonially clean. After this, they may come into the camp, and they must stay outside their tent for 7 days. Okay, so other than the gender issue, it's not an awful translation. But we see in the Hebrew, it's his clothes. He shave off all his hair, not their. Right? They're trying to neuter the sentence. So in general, that's something the NIV does, and it's not something that I really like. Okay. Also, I like that they don't say this is clean. They say it's ceremonially clean. Clean is not the I think the optimal term. Tahor means pure, so it means ceremonially pure. I use the word ritually, same difference. I don't like that they don't set it off from the rest of the text. So they would send the reader looking to the Hebrew, like, where's this word ceremonially? So I don't like that. They should have set off to show that they're adding that in. But nevertheless, the context is that this is some sort of ceremonial purity, ritual purity that is being accomplished through these rituals. Okay, fine. NRSV. The one who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes. Okay, so we have a return to gendered speak. And shave off all his hair. Okay, and bathe himself in water. Good. And he shall be clean. Okay, so clean, again, tahor means pure. And clean would I would say, again, it implies this some sort of just mere cleanliness we're going for. And this is ritual purity that we're going for. So that is a little, whatever, it's not perfect. After that he shall come into the camp, but he shall live outside his tent for 7 days. Okay, the rest of the translation is pretty good. I like that the gender's back in it. My only real quibble is with the word clean, which is not even a major quibble. Okay, JPS. The one to be cleansed shall wash his clothes. Okay, good gendered language. His clothes, shave off all his hair, and bathe in water. Then he shall be clean. Okay, clean, they have the same issue. Tahor means pure, so and the connotations here is it's not just mere cleanliness we're looking for, it's some sort of ritual purity. So after that, he may enter the camp. Okay, but he must remain outside his tent 7 days. Okay, so all in all, not awful, pretty good. Okay, let's see what stone does. The person being purified shall immerse his clothing. Okay, shave off all his hair. Okay, and immerse himself in water and become pure. Okay, pretty good. Thereafter he may enter the camp, but he shall dwell outside of his tent for 7 days. Okay, so I think this is pretty spiffy. I do wish they had noted some sort of that this is ritual purity that we're accomplishing here, but the context alone should indicate that. So you don't necessarily have to put it in there. I chose to. I think in isolation, when you have verses in isolation, it's sometimes more important to add in those words because you don't have context to tell you what sort of purity, what sort of cleanliness that is being accomplished. But of course, these verses are not really meant to be read in isolation. So whatever. Okay, all in all, the translations were pretty good this time around. My biggest problem was with the NIV and their departure from the gendered language. They tried to get away from that. Again, this is not just this verse, that is an overall issue with the NIV. So again, it's not my druthers in terms of how to translate that. I prefer as literal a rendering as possible, so that we can try to maintain gender and number and things like that are actually there inside the text. Okay, very good. Let's look at the Hebrew one last time. V'kibes hamatahar et begadav, v'gilach et kol sa'aro, v'rachatz b'mayim, v'taher, v'achar yavo el hamachaneh, v'yashav mechutz la'ahalo, shivat yamim. Very good. Okay, I appreciate you guys joining me this week. I hope you'll join me again next week. Kol tov, hatzlacha rabba. Keep learning.